Hello students, today we will start with a new lesson, conservation of plants and animals. So here we will learn about biodiversity, the loss of biodiversity and how to conserve biodiversity. Now first of all we have to understand the meaning of biodiversity. See, our planet is inhabited by different types of living organisms. In our planet Earth, there are different types of living organisms, and they live in a variety of conditions. Like they live in different places like forests, like grasslands, they live in deserts, they live in ocean, rivers, and also in the snow-clad polar regions. So different types of organisms, the plants and the animals, live in different places, right? So this number and variety of organisms which are living in the world today is called the biodiversity. Okay, so the number and the variety. See here, the number and the variety of organisms. Organisms include what? Both plants and animals. This total number of plants and animals together is called what? The biodiversity. This will include all the living organisms, microorganisms also. So, we can talk about biodiversity of a place or about the total world, that is as the biodiversity of the earth as a whole. Okay, so total number, the varieties of different organisms that are present is called what? Biodiversity. So some regions will show higher biodiversity, others will show lower biodiversity, depending on what? Depending on mainly the climatic condition. As you all know, the climatic condition is the main factor which controls the biodiversity of a place. So the climatic conditions, the geographical area, all will relate with the biodiversity. They are all the factors that control the biodiversity. So now let us discuss some of the terms that are related to biodiversity. Number one is species. So what do you mean by species? See, different groups of animals which are having common features, okay, which are similar to look like, which have some common features, and they interbreed among themselves. That means they can reproduce among themselves. Mating can be done in between the two individuals of this group, so they can interbreed among themselves to produce the young ones, is called what? Species. So what is the most important part that you have to highlight here is the interbreeding capacity. So the groups or the class of animals having common features or characteristic features, which can the distinguishing features are present in these organisms, which will distinguish them from others, and they can interbreed among themselves. Like suppose human being, okay, so human beings scientific name is what? Homo sapiens. Okay, so Homo sapien is the scientific name of human beings, and they are one species. They can human beings can mate with another human being to produce the child. So this interbreeding can be done in between the species. So this is the very important characteristic of species. Okay, and all the species belonging to the same species, of course, if the animals are belonging to the same species, they will have same characteristic features. Next term is habitat, that is where the organisms live. The place where the organisms live is called the habitat. So we can say that natural environment where the animal or the plant lives can be called its habitat. Here the animal stays, here they can gather food, they reproduce also, okay, and their family multiplies in this condition, which is called the habitat. This is the place of their living. The living place of any organism in nature is called what? Habitat. Then we come to the two terms flora and fauna. See, the total number of plants present in an area is called the flora of that place. You can relate the term with flower. So flora is plants. Number of plants that is present, the variety of species present in an area is called the flora. And the variety of animals that are present in that place is called the fauna of that place. Like what is the flora of Mangalday, if I will ask? Then you have to tell about the different species of plants that are present in Mangalday. Also, if you are talking about animals, fauna of Mangalday, then what type of animals are present in this particular place? This is called the fauna. So, number of plants is called the flora and number of different species of animals is called the fauna of a particular place. Next term is endemic species. Endemic species are those who are confined to some specific geographical area, who stays in that particular area. So these plants and animals, they live in a specific geographical area. This is called endemic species. Like, for example, giant panda is found in the mountains of Sichuan, Gansu and Shaanxi provinces in China. So in India we find out what? Asiatic lion to Gir National Park in Gujarat. So they are endemic in those places. Like giant panda is found in the 3 different provinces of China, and in India Asiatic lion is found in the Gir forest. Okay, so these are the places where the animals stay. The geographical area where the animal or the plant species survive is called the endemic species. Those who are confined to a particular area is called the endemic species. So giant panda is endemic to the China and Asiatic lion is endemic to Gir National Park in Gujarat. Now the migratory species, what are these? Some organisms, mainly the species of animals we will talk about here. Some animals can travel to long distances. Why they will travel long distance? To escape from the unfavorable condition or to find out their food or for reproducing. They can travel from one place to another. Okay, this traveling, this movement of the animals in large numbers, this is a phenomenon. Okay, this is a phenomenon, that is one way of traveling from one place to another for getting favorable condition, for getting the food and for reproducing also. This phenomenon is called what? Migration. The process of movement of animals in large numbers from one place to another in search of food, in search of favorable condition is called what? Migration. So as you all know that birds often migrate from the colder regions to the warmer climate to get the favorable situation in the warmer climate. And whenever in their native places the climate becomes normal, they again fly back to their native places. Like the Siberian birds, they migrate to India and different other warmer places during the coldest month of the winter, and then they again go back to this their native place Siberia when the temperature become favorable. When the weather conditions become favorable, they again go back to their places. This phenomenon is called what? Migration. So, in a lot, in a mass, the animals, birds will migrate from one place to another, will travel from one place to another in search of the favorable condition. Right? So, this is called what? Migration. Okay? So, now we will talk about the loss of biodiversity. Now see, here we are talking about the biodiversity. This chapter relates to biodiversity. So, and now you all know that what is biodiversity. So, we will now discuss about how there is a loss of biodiversity. What are the causes? See, several species of plants and animals have been extinct for the past 2 centuries, and now many of the animals are near to the extinction. Because what? Why these things happens? Because so many things are going on in our nature which regulates the life of the organisms, regulates the life of the biodiversity. So Plants and animals, those who can't adapt themselves to their surroundings, are near to the phase of extinction. They are being extinct, or they are facing extinction, that is, they are endangered. So, loss of biodiversity is the leading environmental problems today. So now we will discuss about the causes of different, what are the causes of loss of biodiversity. So if you can see here, what are the causes? Number one cause is, as you all know, the destruction of the forest. So what is destruction of forest? You all know this, that deforestation, that means degradation of the forest habitat. Excessive cutting of trees is called what? Deforestation. So this is the destruction of the forest. And why will the forest be destroyed or destructed? Because of the requirement of wood. Okay, requirement of wood is one of the main reasons why the trees are cut. Why there is the requirement of wood? Because wood gives us many things, like they give us fuel, and they give us wood for making furniture. It is used in construction. Wood is also used in making paper, then ships, then different types of items are made with the help of the wood. So there is a large requirement of wood. So for that, the forest is destroyed, the trees are cut, and there is a deforestation. Then overgrazing of the cattle is also a factor that contributes to the deforestation. Overgrazing means when the cattle invades into the forest and eat away the trees and plants. This is called what? Overgrazing. Cattle means those animals that are kept at home for giving milk, for working in the fields. Okay, so this type, like cow, goat, buffalo, these are called cattle. They are taken to the forest for grazing, for getting the grasses and the plants. So if they do it in a large number without any control, that is called what? Overgrazing. So overgrazing of the cattle also lead to the loss of the plant, or that is called what? Deforestation. And another point is rapid urbanization, where urbanization means converting the forest into the agricultural land, and also this forests are cut for making the roads and also the railway tracks and also the dams to convert a village into a city. This is called what? Urbanization process. Okay, so these are the causes for deforestation, that is requirement of wood, overgrazing by the cattle, and rapid urbanization are the reasons for deforestation, are the reasons for cutting the trees in the forest. The effects of deforestation. As you all know, deforestation is the cutting of trees in a large amount, okay, which is destruction of forest or degradation of forest is called what? Deforestation. So what are the effects that is that we are going to face due to deforestation? Number one is soil erosion. See, roots of the trees help in binding the soil tightly. As you all know, the trees have roots, and these roots help in binding the soil. So if the trees are destroyed, the soil becomes loose, and when the soils become loose, then they will be eroded very soon. What do you mean by erosion? They are easily carried away by the wind and water. So the soil become loose, the particles of the soil become loose, and whenever there is wind and water, they flow away with the wind and water, and that is called what? Soil erosion. So these roots of the plants, if there will be no roots, then the soil will not be bound together and it will be prone to erosion. Slowly and slowly the topsoil will go due to erosion, will move away from that place due to erosion. You know that there are different layers of soil, and the uppermost layer is called the topsoil. So it will move away during soil erosion, and then the soil will lose its fertility. Then after a few years, the soil will be converted into a desert, because no plants will be able to grow there, because topsoil has been eroded in that place. So this will lead to the formation of what? Deserts. Okay. So loss of topsoil lead to infertility of the soil. That leads to what? Desertification. So slowly and slowly the land is converted into desert. Next, point number 3. Forests are the habitat of many birds and animals and insects also. So if we cut down the trees, then this is a threat to the survival of animals and birds and other insects, other and smaller insects also. So animals and birds will be at a loss because their habitat will be lost due to deforestation. Deforestation also leads to global warming. But how? Because during the process of photosynthesis, as you all know, that carbon dioxide is taken by the plants and oxygen is given out. But if there will be very less plants available, then who will take the carbon dioxide during photosynthesis and who will give out the oxygen? So this will disturb the balance of gases and amount of carbon dioxide will go on increasing. This amount of carbon dioxide, as it will go on increasing in the atmosphere, this will increase in the global temperature, which is called what? Global warming, which we are facing now. Due to deforestation, Earth's temperature is rising every year because of the accumulation of carbon dioxide. Heat is not allowed to escape outside the earth. So this is called what? Global warming. So deforestation is the main cause of global warming. Then forests are also the cause of rainfall. So if there will be no forest, there will be very reduced rainfall or no rainfall at all. How the forests bring rainfall? As you all know, the plants absorb the water from the soil, and then the water is evaporated by the process of transpiration through the leaves. So this transpired water go into the atmosphere and they form clouds. They come down as rain. So if there will be no transpiration, because there will be very less plants, then there will be reduced rainfall, right? Also, this is the cause of floods, because the roots of the plants absorb what? Water. So whenever there is rain, they absorb the water that is present in the soil due to rainfall, and if they are destroyed, then excess water will cause what? Floods. Also, the loss of the trees may lead to what? Landslide. Just now I told that it will lead to soil erosion. This is also one of the cause for the landslide, because there will be no trees to hold the soil tightly. So this will cause what? Landslide. Okay. Next, for the loss of biodiversity, another cause is pollution of air, water and land, which adversely affect the life of plants and animals. Next point is climatic changes. The natural and human activities have changed the global climate. As you all know, just now I told about global warming. So species who are not able to adjust with the climatic change, they become what? Extinct. So there is a loss of biodiversity, because the species cannot adjust themselves with the change in the climate in their habitat. Next is growth of invasive species. One more important cause for the loss of biodiversity will be the growth of invasive species. Maybe sometimes some new species are introduced in an area, and this will decrease the growth of the existing species. Some species may be existing in one place, and some new species may have been brought and introduced in that place where there were existing species. So there will be competition, and the invasive species that is introduced, new species that is introduced in that place will grow on increasing, and the number of existing species which were existing in that place from before, they will start to decrease in number, and then there will be extinction of those existing species. So this is also one of the cause of loss of biodiversity. Then another point will be the hunting or the poaching. Illegal hunting is called what? Poaching. So hunting of the animals because of their meat, because of their skin and other different body parts has led to the loss of biodiversity. Like we will talk about the rhinoceros. Because of their horns they are hunted and they are used in traditional medicines. So in Kaziranga, every time we see that one-horned rhinos are killed because of their horns, because from their horns medicines are made. So this illegal hunting or poaching leads to the loss of the biodiversity. Why the animals are hunted? Because of their body parts are used in medicines. Elephant tusks are used for making ornaments, so elephants are also killed and their tusks are cut from their body. Then fur and hides, leather, skin, all these are obtained from what? From the animals. So animals are killed for getting different items that are present in their body only. So medicines, ornaments, leather and skin for making different types of leather items. The skin of the snake is also used for making different items. Okay, and last but not the least, the main causes of loss of the biodiversity can be the earthquakes, the floods, the droughts, the tsunamis, cyclones, the hurricanes. These are all what? Natural disasters. Due to the natural disasters, there can be loss in the biodiversity because animals will not be able to cope, will not be able to live in this type of condition where there can be massive earthquake, the floods and the droughts and tsunamis. They cannot cope up with these natural disasters. So this will reduce the number of the plants and the animal species in many areas. So in a gist, what are the points that we have studied now which leads to the loss of biodiversity? Number 1 is destruction of forest. Number 2, we have discussed about pollution. Number 3, we have discussed about the climatic changes. Next, the growth of the invasive species. Then hunting or poaching of the animals. And the last point is the natural disasters. All these points that we have studied leads to what? Leads to the loss of biodiversity. So students, today we will discuss up to this much, and in the next lecture we will be discussing about how to conserve the biodiversity. Okay, so before going to the next part, all of you just see the video and read the chapter up to this loss of biodiversity so that you can easily understand the points that I have described.